I walked into that conference room thinking it was just another patent presentation meeting. Instead, I found myself staring at a termination notice while VP Marcus Sterling announced that my groundbreaking renewable energy storage patent now belonged to the corporation. Security guards flanked the doorway as my colleagues watched in stunned silence. 3 years of development, countless nights in my garage, my grandmother's inheritance money invested in every prototype component. Marcus leaned back in his leather chair, that smirk spreading across his face as he called me sweetheart and told me to learn how business really works. The technology that could revolutionize clean energy storage was being stolen right before my eyes. My hands trembled as I fumbled with my apartment keys. The termination papers crumpled in my jacket pocket. The small studio felt even more cramped than usual as I collapsed onto my second-hand couch, surrounded by engineering textbooks and technical journals that now seemed worthless. I pulled out my employment contract, spreading the pages across my coffee table with desperate hope that somewhere in the legal jargon lay an escape route. The memories flooded back as I read each clause. MIT graduation day, my grandmother Clara beaming in the front row, proud that her investment in my education had paid off. 3 startup jobs that taught me everything about innovation and nothing about corporate betrayal. Those late nights in my garage, converting my grandmother's inheritance into circuit boards, battery cells, and testing equipment. The breakthrough by a moment when my energy storage system achieved 97% efficiency, a number that could change everything. I grabbed my personal laptop, searching through emails with growing dread. Marcus had been planning this theft for months, and the evidence was right there in my message history. Forwarded technical specifications, casual questions about my development timeline, seemingly innocent requests for documentation. Every friendly conversation had been reconnaissance. My phone buzzed with an incoming call from Dr. Elizabeth Harper, my former professor and mentor at MIT. Her voice carried an urgency I had never heard before. "Alondra, I need to tell you something important about Marcus Sterling," she began. "He contacted me 6 months ago asking detailed questions about your work. I thought he was considering you for a promotion, but now I realize he was gathering intelligence." The betrayal cut deeper. My own mentor had unknowingly fed information to my future betrayer. Dr. Harper explained how Marcus had posed as a concerned supervisor, claiming he needed to understand my background to help advance my career. She had shared details about my graduate research, my innovative approaches, even my personal financial struggles that led to my garage laboratory setup. "There's more," Dr. Harper continued. "I did some research after your call yesterday. Marcus has been feeding technical specifications to multiple companies. He's planning to auction your patent to the highest bidder." I set the phone down, my mind reeling. This wasn't just about stealing my work. It was about destroying my entire future in the industry. I opened my laptop again, diving deeper into company records and patent filings. The preliminary applications were already submitted, listing the corporation as the inventor. My 3 years of work, my grandmother's financial sacrifice, my dreams of clean energy, innovation, all reduced to corporate property in legal documents I had never seen. Then I noticed something strange on my phone. A 43-minute recording from yesterday's meeting created when my phone accidentally started recording in my pocket. My pulse quickened as I plugged in headphones and hit play. Marcus's voice came through clearly. "The Henderson patent is just the beginning, William. We've got 12 more engineers with valuable IP that legally belongs to us the moment we terminate them. The beauty is, they developed most of it on their own time and dime, then brought it here thinking they'd be partners." CEO William Morrison's response chilled me to the bone. "How much are we talking about total revenue?" "Conservative estimate, $200 million over the next 5 years. The renewable energy market is exploding and we'll own the key technologies. Henderson's battery system alone is worth $50 million to the right buyer." The recording continued with discussions of other employees, other stolen innovations, other destroyed careers. This wasn't an isolated incident. It was a systematic operation designed to exploit inventors and steal their life's work. I sat in my dimly lit apartment understanding that I wasn't just fighting for my own patent. I was fighting for every engineer who had trusted this company with their innovations, every dreamer who believed corporations would honor their creativity. The magnitude of the conspiracy was staggering, but it also meant I wasn't alone. The law office of Sarah Chen Employment Attorney occupied the 15th floor of a downtown office building that seemed designed to intimidate ordinary people seeking justice. Her consultation fee consumed most of my remaining savings, but I needed professional guidance before making any moves against a corporation with unlimited legal resources. Sarah's expression grew increasingly grim as I explained my situation. She had shoulder-length black hair and wore a navy blazer that projected competence, but her body language suggested the uphill battle ahead. Employment disputes involving intellectual property heavily favor corporations, she explained, pulling similar cases from her filing cabinet. Most employment agreements include broad assignment clauses that transfer all employee inventions to the company regardless of where or when the work was performed. She showed me case after case where brilliant inventors had lost everything to corporate legal departments, engineers who developed breakthrough technologies in their personal workshops, only to watch companies claim ownership based on vague contract language. The pattern was depressingly consistent. Individual creativity crushed by corporate power. But Sarah's next suggestion surprised me. There might be alternative approaches. Have you researched the company's history with other employees? Sometimes patterns of behavior can reveal vulnerabilities. I spent the next week at the public library diving into legal databases and corporate records that painted a disturbing picture of systematic exploitation. Marcus Sterling had joined the company 3 years ago, and patent acquisitions had tripled since his arrival. Previous employment lawsuits revealed a consistent strategy: hire talented engineers, extract their knowledge, then eliminate them before they could claim any ownership. The library's quiet atmosphere became my refuge as I tracked down former employees who had suffered similar fates. Janet Rodriguez, a software developer whose algorithm for predictive maintenance was stolen and sold to a major manufacturer. Robert Kim, a mechanical engineer whose innovative motor design became the foundation for a product line worth millions. Both had been terminated shortly after their technologies were incorporated into company systems. Meeting Janet at a coffee shop near her current job, I learned about the emotional toll of corporate betrayal. She worked as a freelance consultant, now struggling to rebuild her reputation after being blacklisted from major companies. "They don't just steal your work," Janet said, stirring her latte absently. "They destroy your confidence. You start questioning whether you really invented anything original, whether you deserve credit for your own ideas." Robert's story was even more heartbreaking. His motor design was being used in wind turbines across the country, generating millions in revenue while he struggled to find steady employment. The company had spread rumors about his competence, making it nearly impossible for him to find work in his field. "The worst part is watching your invention succeed while you're forgotten," he said during our phone conversation. "Every wind farm I see should have my name on it, but instead, I'm working part-time at a hardware store." Their experiences fueled my determination to fight back, but I needed more than righteous anger. I needed a legal strategy that could pierce the corporate veil protecting Marcus and his theft operation. That breakthrough came through Thomas Wade, an intellectual property specialist recommended by Dr. Harper. His small office was cluttered with patent documents and technical drawings, creating an atmosphere of focused expertise. Thomas had built his career defending individual inventors against corporate exploitation. "Employment patent assignments aren't as ironclad as companies pretend," Thomas explained, spreading my contract across his desk. "The key is finding specific language that creates conditions or exceptions." He pointed to a section I had overlooked buried in subsection 12 of my employment agreement. The language was dense and confusing, but Thomas translated its significance. This clause states that patents developed using personal resources and facilities revert to the inventor upon termination for cause unrelated to performance, he said, highlighting the relevant text. Its unusual language, almost like it was inserted specifically to protect against intellectual property theft. My heart raced as I recognized the careful wording. This wasn't standard legal language. It was too specific, too protective of inventor rights. Someone had deliberately included this clause in my contract, anticipating exactly the situation I now faced. "Who negotiated your employment agreement?" Thomas asked. "I signed it when they hired me, but my grandmother's lawyer reviewed all the documents first. She insisted on having someone check the terms before I accepted any job offer." The memory came flooding back. Grandmother Clara, always protective, always suspicious of corporations that promised too much. Her lawyer, George Hamilton, had spent hours reviewing my employment contract, making notes, and requesting clarifications. I had been impatient to start the job, but grandmother insisted on thorough legal review. "Your grandmother's lawyer may have saved your career," Thomas said with admiration. "This reversion clause is exactly what we need to reclaim your patent. We need to prove 3 things: you developed the technology using personal resources, you were terminated for reasons unrelated to performance, and the termination was wrongful." The evidence was all there. Financial records showing my personal investment in equipment and materials. Performance reviews documenting excellent work quality. The recording proving my termination was part of a theft scheme rather than any performance issue. For the first time since walking into that conference room, I felt hope returning. My grandmother's wisdom and foresight had provided exactly the weapon I needed to fight back against corporate theft. The legal labyrinth that seemed impossible to navigate suddenly had a clear path forward. The Tech Innovation Networking event at the downtown Marriott provided perfect cover for gathering intelligence on Marcus's next moves. I borrowed a navy dress and professional blazer from Dr. Harper, determined to blend in with the corporate crowd. My goal was simple: get close enough to overhear conversations that could provide evidence of the broader conspiracy. The ballroom buzzed with conversations about venture capital, emerging technologies, and market opportunities. I positioned myself near the bar, nursing a glass of wine while scanning the room for familiar faces. Marcus stood near the presentation stage, gesticulating enthusiastically while surrounded by executives I didn't recognize. Moving closer, I pretended to examine the silent auction items while straining to hear their conversation. Marcus's voice carried clearly as he described my battery technology to potential buyers. "The energy storage system achieves unprecedented efficiency levels," he was saying, pulling up technical specifications on his tablet. "We're talking about revolutionary impact on renewable energy infrastructure worth at least $50 million in licensing deals alone." One of the executives, a woman in an expensive suit, leaned forward with obvious interest. "When will you be ready to finalize patents and begin commercial licensing?" 2 months maximum, Marcus replied confidently. "We're cleaning up some minor legal technicalities, but the technology is fully secured. The original developer has been removed from the equation." The casual way he referred to destroying my career sent rage coursing through my veins, but I forced myself to remain calm and keep listening. The conversation revealed more than just patent theft. It exposed a sophisticated operation designed to steal and monetize employee innovations. Marcus's next revelation was even more disturbing. He pulled the executive aside, lowering his voice as he described the company's broader strategy. "This is just one of 12 technologies we've acquired through similar methods," he said. "The beauty is that these employees develop everything on their own time and resources, then bring it to us thinking they're joining a collaborative environment. Once they're inside, everything belongs to us." The executive nodded approvingly. "And they have no legal recourse." "None that matters. Individual inventors can't afford to fight corporate legal departments. We've refined the process to be completely bulletproof." I stepped closer, pretending to admire a framed photograph while recording their conversation on my phone. Marcus continued outlining his theft operation with the detached professionalism of someone describing a manufacturing process. CEO William Morrison is planning early retirement based on projected revenues from these acquisitions, Marcus said. We estimate $200 million over the next 5 years, maybe more if renewable energy markets accelerate as predicted. The executive asked about timeline and scalability, prompting Marcus to reveal even more damaging information. The company was actively recruiting engineers, specifically to steal their innovations. Job postings were crafted to attract inventors with promising technologies, and the interview process was designed to extract technical details before making hiring decisions. We've got profiles on 47 potential targets, Marcus said, scrolling through his tablet. Engineers at smaller companies, graduate students with promising research, freelance inventors looking for corporate backing. All of them perfect candidates for our acquisition strategy. I had heard enough to understand the full scope of the operation, but Marcus's next comment stopped me cold. The Henderson situation required some additional cleanup, he told the executive. She's been asking questions and connecting with other former employees. We've engaged a private investigator to monitor her activities and document any potential corporate espionage on her part. The implication was clear. Marcus planned to frame me for the very crime he was committing. By planting evidence of corporate espionage, he could ensure I would never work in technology again while simultaneously discrediting any claims I might make about patent theft. I carefully made my way toward the exit, my mind racing with the implications of what I had learned. This wasn't just about my patent anymore. It was about protecting 47 other inventors from systematic exploitation. Marcus had turned intellectual property theft into a business model, and William Morrison was planning to retire wealthy from the proceeds. Outside the hotel, I sat in my car and reviewed the recording, making sure every word was captured clearly. The evidence was damning, but I also realized how dangerous my situation had become. Marcus knew I was investigating, and he had the resources to destroy my life completely. My phone buzzed with a text from Kevin, a former colleague who worked in the company's IT department. Need to talk. Found something you should see. Meet me at the coffee shop on 5th Street tomorrow at 8 a.m. The message filled me with both hope and dread. Kevin had access to internal systems that could provide crucial evidence, but meeting with him would put both of us at risk. Marcus's private investigator was already monitoring my activities, and any contact with current employees could be twisted into evidence of corporate espionage. But I also knew this might be my only chance to gather the proof needed to expose the full conspiracy. The stakes had escalated far beyond my personal situation. 47 inventors were being targeted for exploitation, and hundreds of employees would lose their jobs if the company was dissolved and sold as Marcus planned. The war for my patent had become a battle for the future of innovation itself. The certified letter arrived on a Tuesday morning, delivered by a courier who required my signature and photo identification. Inside, 23 pages of legal documents announced the beginning of total war. My formal patent reversion claim filed through Thomas Wade's office had triggered an immediate and overwhelming corporate response. The company's legal department, backed by the prestigious firm of Morrison Klein and Associates, had filed a comprehensive countersuit that took my breath away. They were claiming I had engaged in corporate espionage, breach of contract theft, of proprietary information, and fraudulent misrepresentation. The damages they sought exceeded $2 million in amount that would destroy me financially, even if I ultimately won the case. But the legal assault was just the beginning. Within 48 hours, my bank accounts were frozen, pending the outcome of litigation. The company had obtained a temporary restraining order, claiming I posed a flight risk with stolen intellectual property. My credit cards stopped working, my automatic bill payments were canceled, and I couldn't access my modest savings. Thomas Wade's office became my refuge as we strategized our response to the corporate blitzkrieg. His small conference room was covered with legal documents, patent filings, and evidence we had gathered about Marcus's theft operation. This is exactly what they did to the other inventors, Thomas explained, reviewing similar cases from the company's legal history. Overwhelming legal action designed to bankrupt defendants before they can mount an effective defense. The pattern was depressingly consistent. Previous victims had been buried under legal costs and forced to accept unfavorable settlements rather than risk total financial destruction. The company used its unlimited resources like a weapon, making it impossible for individual inventors to seek justice. Dr. Harper's guest bedroom became my temporary home after I lost my apartment. The landlord, faced with frozen bank accounts and mounting legal threats, had no choice but to begin eviction proceedings. I packed my belongings into cardboard boxes, watching 3 years of independent living disappear because of corporate retaliation. "This is temporary," Dr. Harper assured me as we carried boxes into her spare room. "We're going to fight this and win." Her confidence was reassuring, but the stress was taking a physical toll. I wasn't sleeping, barely eating, and jumping at every unexpected sound. The private investigator Marcus had hired was conducting surveillance, following me to legal meetings, the library, even the grocery store. The psychological pressure was exactly what they intended. The media attention began when Maria Santos, an investigative journalist from Tech Today magazine, contacted me about the case. Her research into corporate intellectual property theft had uncovered the company's systematic exploitation of employee inventors. "Your case isn't isolated," Maria explained during our phone interview. "I've documented similar patterns at technology companies across the country. Corporate patent theft is becoming epidemic, but most victims are too afraid or financially devastated to fight back." Maria's article, published online with the headline, "Corporate Giants Stealing Innovation from Employee Inventors," generated significant interest in technology circles. Comments poured in from other engineers who had experienced similar exploitation, creating a growing chorus of voices demanding accountability. But the media attention also escalated corporate retaliation. Marcus hired additional lawyers to send cease and desist letters to Maria's publication, threatening defamation lawsuits if they continued covering the story. The company's public relations firm began a coordinated campaign to discredit my claims and portray me as a disgruntled former employee seeking undeserved compensation. The psychological warfare intensified when Marcus's team began pressuring my former colleagues to provide testimony against me. They contacted Janet and Robert, offering financial incentives to sign affidavits, claiming I had been untrustworthy or had stolen their ideas. Both refused, but the pressure campaign revealed the lengths Marcus would go to destroy my credibility. Kevin, my contact in the IT department, met me at a different coffee shop each time we needed to communicate. His access to internal systems provided crucial intelligence about Marcus's activities, but the risk was enormous. "They're monitoring all employee communications now," Kevin whispered during one of our meetings. "Marcus knows someone is leaking information, and he's conducting a systematic investigation to identify the source." Kevin's latest intelligence was devastating. Marcus was negotiating to sell the entire company to a Chinese technology conglomerate, with my patent serving as the primary asset set justifying the acquisition price. If the sale went through, the company would be dissolved, approximately 400 employees would lose their jobs, and the buyer would own all the stolen patents. "The sale is scheduled to finalize in 60 days, Kevin reported. "Marcus and Morrison will pocket about $30 million each, then disappear while the workforce gets unemployment benefits." The revelation transformed my understanding of what was at stake. This wasn't just about my personal patent rights anymore. It was about protecting hundreds of families from economic devastation. Marcus's theft operation was designed to extract maximum value before abandoning the workforce and community that had created the innovations. Sitting in Dr. Harper's kitchen that evening, surrounded by legal documents and strategic plans, I realized the full magnitude of my responsibility. 47 inventors were being targeted for exploitation, 400 employees faced unemployment, and the broader technology industry was watching to see if individual creators could successfully fight corporate theft. The patent war had escalated beyond anything I could have imagined, but retreat was no longer an option. Too many people were counting on this fight to establish a precedent that would protect innovation and creators' rights. The email arrived in my secure account at 2 in the morning, sent from an encrypted address that provided no identifying information. The subject line simply read, "We need to talk." Inside, a brief message suggested a meeting at the central branch of the public library, third floor northwest corner at 3 p.m. the following Thursday. I almost deleted it as spam, but something about the careful wording suggested legitimate contact from someone with inside knowledge of my situation. After days of surveillance and legal pressure, I was desperate for any potential allies in the fight against Marcus's theft operation. The library's third floor was nearly empty on Thursday afternoon, occupied mainly by graduate students researching their dissertations. I found the northwest corner and waited, pretending to review engineering journals while scanning for anyone who seemed to be looking for me. Ashley Martinez approached carefully, a software developer in her early 30s with dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She carried a laptop bag and moved with the cautious awareness of someone who had learned to watch for corporate surveillance. "You're Alondra Henderson," she said, settling into a nearby chair. "I saw Maria Santos's article about your patent case. I think we have something in common." Ashley's story was remarkably similar to mine. Hired by the same company 18 months ago, she had developed a machine learning algorithm for predictive equipment maintenance during her graduate studies. The technology could save manufacturing companies millions by preventing equipment failures before they occurred. "Marcus told me my algorithm would be the foundation for a new product division," Ashley explained. "I was excited to see my work make a real impact. Then 3 months after I started, they terminated me for alleged performance issues and claimed ownership of everything I had developed." She pulled out a folder containing legal documents that looked disturbingly familiar. The same pattern of overwhelming lawsuits, frozen assets, and character assassination that I was experiencing. Ashley had been fighting alone for over a year, slowly draining her savings, while Marcus licensed her algorithm to multiple companies for substantial profits. "But here's what you might not know," Ashley continued, lowering her voice. "I found 2 other inventors with identical situations. We all have the same unusual clause in our employment contracts. David Kim joined us 20 minutes later, a mechanical engineer whose innovative motor design had been stolen and incorporated into wind turbine systems across the country. His story followed the exact same pattern: recruitment based on existing innovations, brief employment period, sudden termination, and corporate claim of ownership over technologies developed with personal resources. The contract language is too specific to be coincidental," David said, comparing our employment agreements. "Someone deliberately included patent reversion clauses in our contracts, anticipating exactly this situation." Rachel Thompson completed our group, a biotech specialist whose enzyme purification process had been stolen and licensed to pharmaceutical companies. Like the rest of us, she had been recruited specifically for her existing innovations, then eliminated once the company secured legal control over her work. "We've been fighting this individually, but Marcus has unlimited resources," Rachel said. "Alone, we're just former employees making accusations. Together, we represent a pattern of systematic exploitation that even corporate lawyers can't dismiss." Our alliance was born from desperation and shared outrage, but it quickly evolved into a sophisticated strategy for exposing Marcus's theft operation. Each of us brought different skills and evidence that strengthened our collective case. Ashley's computer expertise allowed us to track digital evidence and secure communications. David's mechanical engineering background helped us understand the technical aspects of patent law and prior art documentation. Rachel's biotech experience provided insight into how stolen technologies were being commercialized. We pooled our remaining financial resources to hire Mitchell and Associates, a specialized patent law firm with experience fighting corporate intellectual property theft. Their initial consultation revealed the strength of our combined case. Individual inventors rarely win against major corporations, explained senior partner Jennifer Mitchell, but systematic patent theft affecting multiple inventors creates opportunities for class action litigation and federal intervention. Our investigation uncovered evidence that Marcus's operation extended far beyond our 4 cases. The unusual contract language appeared in employment agreements for at least 12 other engineers, all of whom had been recruited for existing innovations and subsequently terminated under suspicious circumstances. Jake Morrison, an IT specialist, and ironically the CEO's nephew, became our most valuable inside ally. Disgusted by his uncle's involvement in the theft operation, Jake provided access to internal servers and communication systems that revealed the full scope of Marcus's criminal enterprise. They're not just stealing patents, Jake reported during a secure video call. They're systematically documenting every engineer's personal projects, financial situations, and legal vulnerabilities. It's like a database for exploitation. Jake's access to company servers revealed Marcus's most shocking secret. He had been selling stolen patents to shell companies he secretly owned, then licensing them back to the original corporation at inflated prices. This arrangement allowed him to profit from both the theft and the subsequent commercialization while avoiding direct financial ties to his victims. The discovery transformed our understanding of the criminal conspiracy. Marcus wasn't just stealing patents for corporate benefit. He was operating a sophisticated money laundering operation that generated millions in personal income while destroying inventors' careers and communities. Our alliance had evolved from 4 desperate individuals into an organized investigation team with the evidence and legal representation needed to challenge corporate power. The hidden network of exploitation Marcus had carefully constructed was finally being exposed by the very people he had tried to destroy. The federal courthouse in downtown Seattle buzzed with unusual activity for a patent hearing. Media crews lined the front steps as reporters from technology publications, business journals, and local news stations positioned themselves for what had become a landmark case in intellectual property law. Our patent reversion hearing had attracted national attention as a test of whether individual inventors could successfully challenge systematic corporate theft. Inside the courtroom, the contrast between legal resources was stark. Marcus Sterling's defense team occupied 3 tables with attorneys from Morrison Klein and Associates, supported by technical experts, private investigators, and corporate executives. Our side consisted of Jennifer Mitchell and her associate, plus the 4 of us representing ourselves and the broader community of exploited inventors. Marcus entered wearing an expensive navy suit and projecting confidence that this minor legal challenge would be quickly dismissed. He nodded to CEO William Morrison, who sat in the gallery with obvious discomfort about the media attention surrounding their business practices. Judge Patricia Hernandez called the hearing to order her reputation for fairness and technical expertise, making her the ideal arbiter for our complex case. She had presided over several major patent disputes and understood both the legal intricacies and broader implications of intellectual property theft. Jennifer Mitchell opened with a detailed presentation of our evidence, methodically demonstrating the systematic nature of Marcus's exploitation operation. She presented employment contracts showing identical, unusual language, financial records, proving personal investment in stolen technologies, and performance reviews documenting excellent work, quality contradicting termination justifications. The defendants have created a sophisticated criminal enterprise designed to exploit individual inventors, Jennifer argued. They recruit engineers specifically for existing innovations, extract technical knowledge during brief employment periods, then terminate these creators and claim ownership of technologies developed with personal resources. Marcus's legal team responded with a coordinated attack on our credibility and competence. Their lead attorney, Richard Blackstone, painted us as disgruntled former employees seeking undeserved compensation through frivolous litigation. These individuals were terminated for legitimate performance issues, Blackstone claimed, presenting fabricated documentation of poor work quality and missed deadlines. Their attempt to reclaim company property represents a fundamental misunderstanding of employment law and intellectual property rights. The fabricated evidence was professionally prepared and superficially convincing, but Jennifer Mitchell had anticipated this strategy. She presented timeline analyses showing that the alleged performance problems occurred only in documents created after our terminations, and handwriting analysis revealed that Marcus himself had authored several supposedly independent evaluation reports. The hearing's first dramatic moment came when George Hamilton, my grandmother's lawyer, was called as a surprise witness. At 84 years old, he moved slowly to the witness stand but spoke with clarity and authority that commanded the courtroom's attention. I negotiated Alondra Henderson's employment contract specifically to protect against intellectual property theft, George testified. Mrs. Clara Henderson, Alondra's grandmother, had experienced corporate exploitation during her own career and insisted on protective language that would prevent her granddaughter from suffering similar fate. George explained how he had researched the company's history of patent acquisitions and deliberately included reversion clauses that would activate upon wrongful termination. His testimony revealed that similar protective language had been included in contracts for other inventors whose grandparents or mentors had requested legal review. Corporate patent theft was already a recognized problem when I drafted these agreements, George continued. The reversion clauses were insurance policies designed to activate exactly under these circumstances. Marcus's confidence visibly wavered as George's testimony undermined the foundation of the corporate defense. The unusual contract language wasn't accidental or ambiguous. It was deliberately crafted by experienced legal counsel to protect inventor rights. The hearing's momentum shifted dramatically when federal investigators served subpoenas for the company's financial records. Agent Patricia Wells, leading the FBI's white-collar crime division, announced that preliminary evidence suggested violations of federal wire fraud, racketeering, and corporate espionage statutes. The systematic nature of these alleged crimes warrants federal investigation, Agent Wells declared. We're examining potential violations affecting multiple states and international commerce. Marcus attempted to salvage the situation by offering a private settlement worth $2 million to each inventor, plus agreement to cease patent claims and provide positive employment references. The offer represented a tacit admission of guilt while attempting to avoid criminal prosecution. We reject any settlement that doesn't include full admission of wrongdoing and criminal accountability. Jennifer Mitchell responded immediately. These inventors seek justice, not just financial compensation. The hearing's climactic moment arrived during Marcus's cross-examination when Jennifer Mitchell questioned him about his communications with other executives. Under oath and intense legal pressure, Marcus made a fatal error that destroyed his remaining credibility. I may have recorded some conversations with CEO Morrison and other executives for accuracy purposes, Marcus admitted, apparently believing this demonstrated professional diligence. The admission stunned even his own legal team. Jennifer Mitchell immediately requested access to these recordings, arguing that they represented crucial evidence of the criminal conspiracy. Marcus realized his mistake too late, his face draining of color, as he understood the implications of his confession. These recordings were for personal protection in case the company attempted to make me a scapegoat. Marcus continued, making the situation worse with each word. I needed evidence of executive approval for our acquisition strategies. Judge Hernandez ordered immediate disclosure of all recordings, recognizing their potential significance as evidence of systematic criminal activity. Marcus's attempt to protect himself had inadvertently provided prosecutors with direct evidence of the conspiracy involving CEO William Morrison and other corporate executives. The day ended with Marcus visibly shaken, his legal team requesting emergency recess to reassess their strategy. William Morrison left the courthouse without comment, but his pale complexion and hurried departure suggested that the recordings contained damaging admissions of executive involvement in patent theft. Our legal gambit had succeeded beyond our most optimistic expectations. Marcus's own words preserved in his secret recordings would provide the evidence needed to expose the full scope of the criminal conspiracy and hold all responsible parties accountable for their systematic exploitation of innocent inventors. The gavel echoed through the packed courtroom as Judge Patricia Hernandez delivered her final ruling on the patent reversion case that had captured national attention. After 3 days of testimony, evidence presentation, and legal arguments, justice was finally within reach. Having reviewed all evidence, testimony, and legal precedents, Judge Hernandez announced, "This court finds that the employment contract reversion clauses are legally binding and enforceable. The patents in question are hereby restored to their original inventors effective immediately." The courtroom erupted in applause from the gallery filled with technology workers, engineering students, and advocates for inventor rights. Our small group of 4 inventors had successfully challenged corporate power and established a precedent that would protect countless future creators from similar exploitation. Marcus Sterling's face remained expressionless as federal marshals approached his table. The secret recordings he had made for personal protection became the evidence that sealed his fate. Agent Patricia Wells stepped forward with arrest warrants charging Marcus with federal crimes, including wire fraud, racketeering, corporate espionage, and money laundering. "Marcus Sterling, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, and operating a racketeering enterprise," Agent Wells announced as handcuffs clicked into place. "You have the right to remain silent." The recordings Marcus had secretly made revealed conversations with CEO William Morrison and other executives explicitly planning to steal employee patents, manipulate financial records, and eliminate witnesses to their crimes. His attempt at self-protection had documented a criminal conspiracy that reached the highest levels of corporate leadership. CEO William Morrison resigned in disgrace before federal charges could be filed, forfeiting his pension and agreeing to cooperate with prosecutors in exchange for reduced criminal liability. The company's board of directors implemented immediate reforms, including profit-sharing agreements for all employees and stronger protections for inventor rights. The technology industry watched as our case established new legal precedents protecting individual creators from corporate exploitation. Law schools began teaching courses on inventor rights, using our case as a primary example of successful resistance to systematic intellectual property theft. My energy storage patent, now rightfully restored to my ownership, received validation beyond my wildest dreams. The Environmental Protection Agency selected my battery technology for a prestigious innovation award recognizing its potential to accelerate renewable energy adoption and reduce carbon emissions. This technology represents exactly the kind of breakthrough innovation America needs. EPA Administrator Sarah Johnson announced during the award ceremony, "Supporting individual inventors like Alondra Henderson is crucial for maintaining our technological leadership." The award ceremony was held at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., with an audience of government officials, industry leaders, and environmental advocates. Standing at the podium, looking out at faces filled with admiration and respect, I reflected on the journey from corporate betrayal to national recognition. With my patent rights secured and legal vindication complete, I established the Clara Henderson Foundation for Inventor Protection, named after my grandmother, whose wisdom had made victory possible. The foundation provides legal assistance, financial support, and advocacy for individual creators facing corporate intellectual property theft. Dr. Elizabeth Harper joined as the Foundation's academic director, developing educational programs that teach inventors how to protect their rights and recognize exploitation tactics. Her MIT connections provided access to brilliant young minds who would benefit from mentorship and protection. Ashley Martinez, David Kim, and Rachel Thompson became my partners in launching Henderson Innovation Labs, a cooperative research facility where inventors maintain full ownership of their creations while accessing professional development resources and commercialization support. We're proving that innovation thrives when creators are protected and empowered, Ashley explained during our first press conference. Corporate exploitation stifles creativity, but collaborative environments unleash human potential. Our workspace occupies a converted warehouse in Seattle's technology corridor, filled with state-of-the-art equipment and bright spaces designed to inspire creativity. Young inventors work alongside experienced engineers, sharing knowledge while maintaining individual ownership of their discoveries. The foreign corporation that had planned to acquire my stolen patent withdrew their offer and approached me directly for legitimate licensing negotiations. Their executives flew to Seattle for meetings that resulted in a 5-year licensing agreement worth $12 million, with all proceeds supporting foundation activities and lab operations. Jake Morrison, the IT specialist whose inside information had been crucial to exposing the conspiracy, received protection under federal whistleblower statutes and joined our technical team. His expertise in digital security helps protect inventor communications and intellectual property from future corporate espionage attempts. The former colleagues who had initially distanced themselves from my legal fight publicly apologized during a company-wide meeting broadcast to all employees. Their recognition of corporate wrongdoing and support for inventor rights demonstrated how individuals can find courage to stand against institutional power when they see others successfully fighting back. Maria Santos, the investigative journalist whose reporting had brought national attention to corporate patent theft, published a book documenting systematic exploitation across the technology industry. Her research revealed that our case was part of a much larger pattern affecting thousands of inventors nationwide. 6 months after the legal victory, I stood before a Senate Judiciary Subcommittee testifying in support of federal legislation strengthening inventor protections and criminalizing systematic intellectual property theft. The Henderson Innovation Protection Act, named after our successful challenge to corporate exploitation, passed with bipartisan support. Innovation is America's greatest strength, I told the senators during my testimony, but that strength depends on protecting the individual creators who drive technological progress. When corporations steal from inventors, they steal from our nation's future. The personal transformation was as significant as the professional vindication. The young woman who had walked into that conference room and watched her life's work being stolen had become an advocate, entrepreneur, and protector of other creators' rights. The pain and betrayal had forged strength and purpose that extended far beyond personal success. My grandmother Clara would have been proud to see how her protective instincts and careful legal planning had not only saved my career, but created a movement that protected countless other inventors. Her legacy lived on through every creator who benefited from stronger legal protections and community support. The energy storage technology that Marcus had tried to steal was now being manufactured by a worker-owned cooperative in Detroit, creating jobs in communities that needed economic revitalization while advancing clean energy goals. The batteries powered microgrids in rural areas, emergency backup systems for hospitals, and charging networks for electric vehicles. On quiet evenings in my new laboratory, surrounded by prototypes and design sketches for next-generation innovations, I often thought about the journey from that devastating betrayal to this fulfilling purpose. The attempt to destroy my career had instead revealed my true calling as a protector of innovation and champion of creator rights. The foundation's work expanded internationally as inventors in other countries reached out for support against multinational corporate exploitation. Our model of legal advocacy, financial assistance, and collaborative workspace development was being replicated in technology centers around the world. Standing before our latest group of young inventors during their orientation session, I shared the life lesson that emerged from confronting systematic corporate theft and fighting for justice against overwhelming odds. Innovation belongs to those brave enough to dream it, persistent enough to build it, and strong enough to defend it. I told them, watching their faces light up with understanding and determination. When corporations try to steal your creativity, remember that your greatest power isn't in what they can take, but in what they can never replicate. The passion and vision that created it in the first place. The room fell silent as the young inventors absorbed these words, understanding that their journey would require not just technical skill, but also courage to protect their creations from those who would exploit their talents. Innovation requires vulnerability, I continued. You have to share your ideas to make them real. But sharing doesn't mean surrendering ownership. Know your rights, protect your work, and remember that you're part of a community that will stand with you when corporate power tries to crush individual creativity. Our foundation had documented over 300 cases of corporate intellectual property theft in just 2 years, providing successful legal intervention in 87% of reported incidents. The precedent established by our patent reversion case had empowered countless inventors to challenge exploitation and reclaim their rightful ownership. The technology industry was slowly changing as word spread about successful resistance to corporate theft. Companies began competing to attract inventors with genuine collaboration agreements rather than exploitative contracts designed to steal innovations. The best companies realized that protecting creator rights led to better innovations and stronger competitive advantages. But vigilance remained essential. Corporate attorneys continuously developed new strategies for exploiting individual inventors, requiring constant adaptation of our protective methods and legal strategies. The Foundation's legal clinic provided ongoing education about emerging threats and evolving protections. Looking toward the future, I saw endless possibilities for supporting innovation while protecting creator rights. The Henderson Innovation Labs was expanding to include satellite facilities in university towns across the country, providing young inventors with access to professional resources while maintaining ownership of their discoveries. My personal story had become part of a larger movement transforming how society balanced corporate power with individual creativity. The patent that Marcus Sterling had tried to steal was now generating millions in licensing revenue that supported hundreds of inventors and their groundbreaking technologies. The journey from betrayal to triumph had taught me that justice requires persistent effort, strategic thinking, and collaborative action. Individual courage is essential, but lasting change happens when brave people work together to challenge systems that exploit creativity and crush innovation. Have you ever had your ideas stolen or felt pressured to give up ownership of something you created? The fight for intellectual property rights affects everyone who believes innovation should be rewarded rather than exploited. I'd love to hear about your experiences with protecting creative work or standing up to corporate pressure in the comments below. If this story inspired you to think differently about inventor rights and corporate accountability, please share it with others who might benefit from understanding these issues. Like this video if you believe individual creators deserve protection from systematic exploitation, and subscribe to follow more stories about people who fought back against injustice and won. Thank you for joining me on this journey from corporate betrayal to personal triumph. Remember that your creativity and innovation have value that no corporation should be allowed to steal. Stand strong, protect your rights, and never let anyone convince you that your ideas belong to someone else simply because they have more power or resources. Together, we can build a future where innovation flourishes because creators are protected, respected, and empowered to change the world with their brilliant ideas.